As web developers, we're concerned about writing web apps, websites, anything that we need to write on the web and get them done for people to use. We really don't care too much about how to deploy them. We know how to do that because it's required most of the time. Today we're going to talk about Heroku. It's actually a platform as a service that allows you to deploy your web apps and your websites, whatever you need to do, so that you don't have to worry about the process of deploying. All you do is a simple push to it and poof, it takes care of the rest for you and you're ready to go. You don't have to worry about provisioning servers, setting up virtual host files or any of that. You just go. What we're going to discuss today is how to create an app on Heroku, how to deploy to Heroku, and roughly what actually happens while it's deploying. We're also going to show you how to use south migrations along with your deployment, because let's face it, a lot of us use south migrations and we need to actually know how to do that since it doesn't do it by default. In order to do Heroku deploys, I'm going to assume you have a few things. First, you need to have Git installed and know how to use it, the Git version control system. You need to have Ruby installed and the Heroku gem, and you need to have associated Heroku and your computer. This can all be found in a Getting Started guide on Heroku's website. After you've done all of that, you should be ready to go and start doing development. The first thing let's discuss is the project structure of your Django application. Normally you have your application and you do the Django admin start project, it creates a folder. This isn't actually, that main folder isn't what we need to deploy. We need to put that main folder inside of a folder. So if we use our blog application that we have been messing with for doing demos, and I'll do an ls, I have, if you'll notice, I'm in the blog folder, and underneath that I have another blog folder. I'll just do my ls of blog, and that's actually the Django application. Note in the root folder of this, we actually have the requirements.txt file. So how the structure needs to be is the root folder. Inside that root folder is your application in a subfolder in the requirements.txt. From there, we need to actually add information to the requirements.txt. So we're just going to open that up, and we have Django already, and then we have south. And then for doing Heroku deploys, we need the sci-cop-g2 equal 2.4.2. There we go. That's the requirements that are needed for doing Heroku deploys. It's a good idea to go ahead and install everything that's in that requirement files. So we're going to do pip install our requirements. Then we'll just let it run through its install. I already have everything installed, so we're good to go. Now that we've changed our requirements file, let's go ahead and add that to our repository. Just go ahead and commit it. So we're going to do git commit am change requirements. Boop, and then there we go. We're ready to go. What Heroku has whenever you do your deployment is they have what are called stacks. Each stack has different technology associated to it. So they have a stack for older versions of Ruby on Rails, newer versions of Ruby on Rails, and the same thing with Django and Python. They have different stacks for doing Python versus Rails and versus Java deployments. In order to do Python and Django deployments, we need to create our Heroku app on the Cedar stack. So to do that, we're just going to use a Heroku create command. What's happened here is it created an application default name, deepcloud9292. It created it on the Cedar stack, and then it gave us a URL to use and added Heroku as a remote to our local Git repository, which your application should be under before you proceed doing an Heroku install. The next thing that we need to do is actually deploy our app. To do that, we do git push Heroku master. This is going to push the master branch to our Heroku remote. As we go through the install, it's going to actually do several things and give us feedback on what it's doing. Essentially what has happened here is we have pushed our Heroku app to the server. It has detected that there was a Django application. It created a virtual environment for that Django application. It associated the Django app with, say, a virtual environment. It added settings for doing database stuff to our settings file. It installed everything into our virtual environment, and then actually finished out the deploy process. And then so it's actually ready to go, and we could actually visit it. But first thing that we need to do is we need to do our database stuff. And what I mean by that is we need to do our syncdb and our migrate. To do that, you have to actually run command line commands, but Heroku makes a fun little process that you can use to actually run those commands. In order to run the syncdb command, we're going to use our command line Heroku tool. We're going to call the run command, which is used to run any type of command line command afterwards. So we could run ls or pwd, and those would actually work and you would get a response. In this case, we're going to call blog/manage.py. So we're going to run our manage.py file, and then we're going to do syncdb. Now you may need to also add Python to the beginning of that, so it uses Python to run that. And then we're just going to hit enter, and it's going to do a normal syncdb command. I'm not going to create a super user right now, and there we go. And look, as you can tell, we also need to do some migrations. So we're going to do Heroku run Python blog manage.py migrate. And this should run our south migrations. There we go, we've run our south migrations, and now we're good to go. Now we're actually done deploying our application, and we can actually go ahead and run the website. So we do Heroku open, and this should open it up in our browser, and we should be ready to see what's available. And there we go, this awesome blog, and there we go. So this is the application that we were using in Django on our application. We just did a simple git push Heroku master to push the master branch up to Heroku, and it deployed, and we're good to go. We ran our south migrations, so anything that we need to do for the database is good to go. A quick note on the database is it automatically sets up a free 5 meg database for you and injects those settings into your settings.py file. And so you really don't have much to worry about, right away. And so the syncdb and the south migrations that you run across that. That way that prevents you from putting in custom connection information inside of your settings file in case it's, say, an open source application. I thank you for joining us for this GoDjango screencast on deploying to Heroku. Please visit the website and leave comments and suggestions. I'm always open to them. And please visit Facebook and fan the page so that you can get updates via Facebook, or if you prefer RSS, we also have an RSS feed available. Please subscribe, and so that you can get updates whenever we push them out to you. I thank you again, and have a great day.